Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host Richie Schneiderite. Richie, big weekend last weekend. We've had a lot of content, a lot of podcasts recapping the Boston College game. We haven't heard from you. You were actually at the game. So let's start there. What was the experience like in Chestnut Hill? Tell us what it was like, because I'd heard there's not really a big tailgating scene at Boston College. What was the game like in general, the full 360
Yeah,
experience?
so I mean, I got there pretty early. I had some family up there that were going to the game, so I got to experience the tailgate a little bit. But it wasn't crazy big, but it was bigger than I thought in terms of tailgating. And then it's not as big as Rutgers, but it's not as small as, say, I don't even know who to compare it to. But it wasn't a huge tailgating scene. It was decent, I thought, at best. But going into the game, I was impressed. The student section showed up. Like, they had a ton of students in that lower bowl level. Now, in terms of the rest of the fan base, season ticket holders, if there was any, there wasn't many. It was kind of dead in terms of BC fans in general, but like I said, credit to the students. They showed up. They actually showed up on time too, which was impressive. And then yeah, I mean, overall, it's not a bad experience. The stadium's ancient. They definitely need to do some renovations there in terms of concessions, and the press box was just brutal. And I've been to Penn State, and that might be like the worst press box I've ever been to because it's just so old and they don't update it as much. And I think this one might be worse. The TVs they had in there for us to like watch the instant replays were every bit of like a 16-inch screen that was all the way up in the top corner and this like little thing, and it's like what am I looking at? Like then you have the nerve to serve a bunch of Italian people from Jersey vegetable lasagna. Are you kidding me? I
Jeez.
That was brutal. The only good thing was I got some pretty good clam chowder, so I can't complain there. I had to do it.
They had clam chowder in the press box?
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. But the vegetable
Okay.
lasagna, come on, like what are we doing? It's that the food there, like never made me appreciate SHI Stadium and those guys anymore. Like that was just it's night and day, ironically.
So, kind of a tangent question, but what's the best experience you've had in the press box in terms of the amenities, the food?
That
Because I know there's a guy Jimmy Kemsky who likes to rate every NFL stadium's servings,
that's
and
a tough one.
he said Dallas Cowboys do the best job
Really,
of that.
I've never gotten that
Yeah.
far before yet. Let's see if it ever happens. But I don't know. I like Yankees because it was kind of cool. Just because I'm a Yankee fan, so obviously it's like a different level of nostalgia for me. But Maryland serves some pretty good food. Yeah, I honestly like. I hate to say it, the Rutgers press box is pretty good. You get some pretty good food
You
beforehand.
don't need to hate to say it.
Well, not hate
It
to
just
say it, but
sounds
it's
like a
just
homer
like
take. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's just I don't know. I didn't expect the home team to be the best food, and it ends up being the best food. I mean, food wise, you get a nice little variety of stuff, and then at halftime, you always get a hot dog, and they always have like cheese, sauerkraut, etc. So it's like you're kind of at the game too. So you get that little nice touch there. But yeah, Maryland wasn't bad. Penn State's okay. Food wise, I like Penn State for the fact that they give you a little ice cream cone from the creamery, so that or ice cream like cup. So that was always kind of cool. I like how they're all pretty different. They all do their own thing, and it's all kind of based on the location and stuff. And it's a neat little idea.
Nice. So, what did you think about the team's performance overall on Saturday versus Boston College?
First half, I was losing confidence. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, well, here we go. Like this isn't it. And then they turned it around quite a bit. They honestly, this Big Ten offensive line. It's the first time I think I've seen them with a Big Ten offensive line since they since they joined the conference. They
Yep.
mauled them. They wore them down. They're just a bunch of big dudes. Willie Tyler at first was really concerning. He obviously got switched out for Kamar Missouri, who was even more concerning. But then Willie Tyler picked it back up in the second half, and he looked like a totally different person. Um, JD Dorenzo is like I think I said in our preseason notes and notebooks and all that. I think he's still your best lineman. You're able to pull him quite a bit. He's super athletic for his size. Ireland Brown really impressed me a ton, and
Yeah.
I know
Same.
that one sketchy snap they had that I think Simon fumbled, but I think he picked back up if I recall correctly. But it was other than
Yep.
that, I thought Ireland Brown actually dominated the middle. Like I think he did a really good job. Um, O line was great. I thought running backs, Monangai was doing pretty solid. I don't think he was doing anything crazy, but I think he was doing solid. Salam came in, broke open that one big yard, a big 23, 22 yard run. Um, I mean, the quarterbacks are still kind of concerning because you didn't have a guy throw for anywhere near 100 yards, which is
Yep.
yeah, it's not the best in the world. We saw Wimsat for the first time, sort of as like a starter, kind of co-starter thing. I mean, I think you guys have kind of known this already. He's very inaccurate. Now, there's times where he looks like he's super accurate. There's times where he looks like he's super inaccurate. He overthrew Sean Ryan on that one. I forget who else he overthrew. Monanga, I think it was. Because
Um,
I think Monanga came out of the backfield and
yes.
then ran almost like a streak type route, and then he just overthrew the hell
On
out
the
of him.
final drive, there was that rollout on 1st and 10
Yeah,
where there was a wide. I think it was Crookshank was wide open
yeah.
on the right hand side of the field.
Yeah, the interception was just an ugly one too. It's just like where are you throwing that ball? Now, mind you, he's the better runner of the two, and that ended up paying off in the end. And that's why Salam was so open on that one run. They keyed it. The two linebackers keyed in on Wimsat, and there you go. Salam breaks out one, and that's it. Overall, it's the defense is pretty good. I think had its struggles. Max Melton had
Yep.
struggles, of course. Izzian, I know everyone likes to think he had a great game. I think in the first 2 quarters, I think he was struggling quite a bit. They were targeting him uh, a lot, and it looked like he was struggling. But he again, they bounced back, and they're just a lot of these guys are bouncing back from adversity, and they showed that they're not afraid to, or they're just going to keep playing and just keep chopping. Ironically, um, yeah. Overall, I think it was a Rutgers type of game, and this was the only way you were going to win it when doing something like a 96-yard drive with 8 minutes left, 9 minutes left. They wore down the clock too. It was impressive game play calling by whether it be Chiano or Gleason. We'll never know, but yeah. I mean, overall, it's a solid game. It's a great start, and now people are putting them in bowl projections.
Yeah, which I think is a. I'm in between like getting ahead of myself and trying to rein it back. Like during the Twitter space, I was definitely getting ahead of myself. Now I'm trying to rein it back. I think 5 wins is very attainable at this point.
Yeah,
And I think there's as our opponents have played more games, or I think our opponents are a little worse collectively than we would have thought before week one.
of course.
So I do think games like Iowa, Nebraska, and I don't want to mention any more after that, but I think Iowa and Nebraska are winnable
Yeah.
at this point. I think they're kind of coin tosses. Um, I do think some of the high level stuff that I kind of saw out of this game is that we had 7 penalties in the first half. We only had 3 in the second. Um, all of the defense really toughened up, and the offensive line got better as the game went on. So I think that can be really narrowed down to 2 things. One is coaching. Like we made some good adjustments.
Yeah.
Boston College didn't. And also, you got to give shout out to Jay Butler and his staff because the conditioning for this team is top notch. Like these guys did not wither, even though it was hot. Even though it was a tough game that we were playing from behind most of the game, so there's just a lot of toughness on this team, a lot of great conditioning, and we had, especially on the defensive line, we had a pretty solid rotation. A lot of guys contributed, a lot of guys gave some good minutes, even if they didn't put great stats up there. A guy like even Renee Conga, he didn't really have any stats from this game, but he was putting a lot of pressure on Phil Jurkovich. There was at least 2 passing plays that he really was the reason why they were incomplete, or I think he might have been the guy pressuring Jurkovich on one of the interceptions as well. So just a lot of positives to come from this game, from the stuff the coaching staff loves to see in terms of like grittiness, the chop mentality. I thought that was all on full display this weekend and is a great example of something to build on this year.
Yeah.
So we've kind of covered this game,
Oh.
beaten this horse to death a few times over. Let's talk. Let's talk Wagner. So Wagner obviously is not a high-level opponent. They are an FCS team that's lost 21 straight games.
Yeah.
What would you want to see out of this weekend that would kind of... Obviously, we want to see a blowout because if we don't blow them out, that's not a good sign. But what do you want to see in terms of who plays? Like, obviously, we don't want to see any injuries, but what would you deem this game as a, success to see out of Saturday?
So I've went over this a couple times talking to Chris, and I think honestly you take the lead early, maybe like a 14 to 21 point lead in that first quarter, and you just let the backups ride. Obviously, you probably want your starters to play a quarter and a half, 2 quarters at least. The biggest thing I want to see, I hate the quarterback roulette. I think it just doesn't allow a guy to get into a rhythm. So I would like to see one of these guys step up, whether it be Simon or Wimsat. Obviously, they both have different characteristics and different traits to their game that are like obviously Wimsat's a better runner. I don't think I've seen a Rutgers quarterback run for like what was it, a 30, 40 yard gain like ever in my lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think if maybe Jabu
I
busted one
thought
back
about
in
that
like
too.
2005, but
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean that's such a different like trait that you don't have that Rutgers hasn't seen at quarterback in so long. So it's huge. And then like going back to the Salam touchdown, like just having a running threat is like it's huge in terms of the run game as well. Um,
yep,
or Simon, who might be the better passer and the safer passer, which is what kind of Shianos tends to lean towards in terms of like look at Vedral the past 2 seasons. The reason he's the starter is because he's so conservative and being smart with the ball and making the smart passes. No, I mean, I think one of them has to step up. I can't imagine you playing quarterback roulette all season long. But, and he's done it in the past, Ciano. He's done it with Dodd and Nova. He's done it with Savage and Dodd, and it's like, does it work? Maybe. I mean, it worked game one. I just don't know if it's gonna work throughout the Big Ten schedule because you put Wimsatt in, it's almost like yeah, we know he's gonna run or be a threat to run at least. It's that's probably my main thing, and then you got to establish probably a top wide receiver. I would think. I know obviously losing Taj Harris isn't helpful. Is Cruikshank that guy to be number one? Can Sean Ryan step up and be that number one? Even a young bud could young bud step up and be that number one? But even I don't know. Shameen Jones played a ton of snaps even though he didn't start. So I mean, someone's got to step up there. The linebacker core, I'd probably like I said, bubble wrap them. Don't like
yep,
don't even. I don't know why. Dario Dijabome, or I don't know how to say it. I'm butchering his name.
yep.
And Deion Jennings were both on special teams, and then Deion Jennings got hurt for a second. I'm like, oh my god, what do you take them off of special teams? You don't have anyone as is. So
Yeah, I know Shiano is a big proponent of playing starters on special teams. That's like a big like Bill Belichick thing. And I know he's very close with him, and I think it's just and same with Urban Meyer. So
fair.
I don't know if that's going to change because that seems to be pretty ingrained in Shiano. But it would be devastating to lose a Jennings or a
Yeah.
Tyreen Powell or a Nizian because of a play on special teams because those are like statistically, and that's why they're trying to get kickoffs basically out of the game effectively with the 25-yard touchback, the 25-yard line touchback because those are the plays that people get hurt on.
Yeah.
You're running full speed and you're just hitting people in open field. So yeah, that would suck, but I don't see that changing.
No, but
I think it would, like you were kind of alluding to, be great if just somebody separated over the next 2 weeks at the quarterback position. I do think that if Noah's out for longer than we're expecting, I do think based on everything, I've rewatched the game a couple times. I've looked into like the PFF grades. Simon had a better game than Gavin.
yeah,
Like Gavin obviously has the traits that you would look for in like a modern QB from the mobility and arm strength standpoint,
yeah,
but he missed way too many open throws, and Simon missed a couple too, but I think Simon is probably more game ready at the moment. Um, but thankfully, we do have a couple weeks to figure that out. And Sean Ryan, you pointed out, he was getting a ton of separation in that game
yeah.
for going against like some pretty high level defensive backs. Like he had that 70 or 75 yard should have been touchdown, but he was overthrown.
Oh yeah,
He had that touchdown in the back of the end zone that was just thrown a
so
little
close.
off, and yeah.
Yeah,
So he did have opportunities, and it wasn't necessarily his fault because he did catch that ball in the back of the end zone that ended up just being slightly out of bounds. So that is positive to see, and I thought Crookshank looked healthy, and who knows who's going to step up into the opportunity that Taj Harris is leaving behind. So what are you hearing recruiting-wise about both basketball and football? We can start with football. We got the commitment from the long snapper from IMG. He's going to be a scholarship kid, right?
yeah. He'll be a scholarship kid, or is a scholarship kid.
So we have a commitment there. I know we keep saying like we think the 23 class is over, we're gonna save them for transfer portal, and then another guy or two always
Yeah.
ends up committing. Where do you see recruiting standing right now?
So I'm gonna stick with that right now. It is pretty much over. The only name really, or I should say two names, is they're pushing Zion Tracy quite a bit, but he's visiting Penn State this weekend for an official. I'd be shocked if he didn't
Okay.
walk away as a Penn State commit, and that's a shame because that's a guy that you probably could have had last year, very easily because he was playing in Long Island. No one really knew about him. Little speedster, cornerback, DB, whatever you want to call him. He's pretty much locked up for Penn State. And then Namdi Udiego. I'm gonna butcher every name today.
Yep.
He's a defensive end, defensive tackle out of Georgetown Prep. He's probably gonna end up in Rutgers, I would assume. I already put our future cast in for him. He is a former teammate of Keontae Hamilton. He looks up to Keontae Hamilton. So I'd be shocked if this one didn't end in favor of the Scarlet Knights. Now, when is it going to happen? Probably in the next couple weeks. I would assume it's still going to be September when he commits, but he doesn't really have a set timeline. It's just kind of fall, he told us, and I expect that one to end in Rutgers' favor. And after that, I mean, you're up to what, 16 kids, 17 kids? I don't really think. Oh, you're at
Yep.
17 now. That would be 18. I don't really see anyone else really joining this class. I think they're going to save a ton of ships for the transfer portal. You're going to have to replace a lot of guys. You're probably going to target a wide receiver, I would think, if I'm Rutgers. You're going to target a linebacker, 100%. D line, you're probably good on. DBs, you could probably get a stopgap there's a good enough one out there. Um, Quarterback, I don't. I mean, yeah, actually, you might need a quarterback depending on what happens with Simon and Wimsat. You're only down to two.
Yep.
Raheem Jeter is a 2023 kid. They're showing a little bit of interest in. They did offer him technically, and they wanted to see his first three games, but it does sound like he's going to stay down in that Carolina area. It sounds like East Carolina is like the favorite right there. He's got a weird.
Yeah. Didn't the guy who recruited him to West Virginia end up at ECU?
Yeah, so that's the weird connection there, and he has a bunch of buddies that are going to ECU as well, or at ECU as already. So I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up there, and nor do I think he's. It's mostly just that would just be a depth piece. I'm not a big fan of his game. I think he's okay. He's not great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he would ever even start at Rutgers, but then again, who knows? Because look at Ohio State; they had a third string quarterback playing in the national championship. So
Yep.
I mean, yeah, but you definitely need some kind of depth there. I would try to add some kind of body. I don't know who. Maybe hey, bring back Art Sikowski. He's probably going to transfer, I would assume.
Oh
No, I'm
man.
just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what you do there in that situation. Running back, you're fine. Receiver, you need one. O line, you probably need one too. I would assume. I know Willie Tyler has an extra year, I think, but JD DeRenzo
Yep. He's
doesn't.
got two.
Oh, he has two. So
So he's got two, including this year.
gotcha. And JD
Willie.
DeRenzo's done after this season. Who's your other? Does Dunlap have two? He might have two.
Dunlap has two.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess
Chifani has three, I
it
think.
really depends on how confident you are in your young guys. I guess in terms of that position, like are they developing correctly or quick enough? I should say. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think it's going to be portal, and that's you got your punter already, your new punter, you got a new kicker who a lot of question marks on still. That was an interesting one. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, I think the rest is portal for recruiting, and that's pretty much it in terms of football recruiting.
Yeah, so let's transition to basketball recruiting. We had an official visit weekend last weekend. It was supposed to be two top
Yeah.
targets. Trey Norman ended up canceling his visit and subsequently committed to Marquette last night. That
Yeah.
one has been alluded to by you guys. That was his favorite for a long
Mhm.
time. Um, but Bayfall did make it to campus,
Yes.
who is a top 12 guy. He's a five
Mhm.
star. He's a center prospect. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing about that visit and where Rutgers stands in his overall recruitment.
So just to get the first one out of the way, Trey Norman canceled his visit midweek. It seems like he even told our rivals national guy Rutgers got into the game too late. He had a set decision date, wasn't changing it. So I mean, Marquette makes it was Marquette all the way pretty much. In terms of Bay Fall, though, number 11 kid in the country visiting Rutgers. I don't think I've ever said anything near that high of a recruit visiting Rutgers for hoops. Uh,
Officially, at least.
yeah, it's interesting. He had a great time. Cliff was obviously his host, big man host. They
Big man
connected quite a
hosts.
bit.
Both are from Africa. I
Yeah,
think Cliff is from Nigeria
and
and
he's from
Faith Falls from
yep,
Senegal.
exactly. He had a really good visit. They did the typical like, hey, let's go to Bolero, let's do this, let's do that, let's tour the campus, let's go check out the facilities, blah blah blah, all the good stuff. Davis is working on talking to his guardian right now. I think he'll have an article out today or tomorrow. But it's basically for the most part the same quotes as like as always, like, hey, like really enjoyed the visit. You never hear anyone say we hated it. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, from what we're hearing, is Arkansas is still the favorite. He's expected to visit there in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I forget, sometime in September for a weekend. The big factor here is his cousin, Asani Diop, is 109 in the country, 110 in the country, something like that. They're really excited about the possibility of playing together. They both have Arkansas offers. Diop only has, I think, like 6, 7 offers right now, and all 6 are the same offers that Bayfall has. Now, I think it's more of like a
Interesting.
package type deal. Obviously, we know Arkansas not doesn't pay recruits, but they have a hell of an NIL program that all of a sudden they commit and they get these crazy deals. But I think it's Arkansas all the way. It's like SEC, but when I put the money sign in it in the board post, that's what's going on.
Hmm.
But that's expected for
So
top recruits for hoops.
so given that he is a top, he's ranked 110. So given that he is a pretty highly ranked guy,
Mhm.
is there a reason why Pike hasn't offered him as well?
Yeah, I'm a little shocked by that one. I don't really know, but Pike's very strategic when it comes to offering guys. He doesn't offer a ton. He offers guys that fit his system. And end of the day, Pike's not just going to offer a guy just because you're related to him. Like he's not about the whole package deal thing, which I don't blame him. It's backfired on the football program quite a few times already. So I mean,
Sure.
yeah, he's going to go for the guys he wants. I mean, he got on the campus, which was huge. Why he wants to keep visiting New Jersey because he's going to visit Seton Hall at the end of the month. I don't know because he's got zero connections to the state of New Jersey. Um,
It's true.
it's interesting. I don't even know if he'll actually get to that Seton Hall visit because I think that's on the 30th or 29th, whatever that weekend is.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I would be shocked if he didn't visit Arkansas and commit to Arkansas. Maybe he'll visit Seton Hall, but I still think it's Arkansas all the way. Um, it's I think Rutgers' best get in terms of getting a big man in this class would be Papa Conte, who's another Africa native. He's with his family over there now currently. I don't think he came back yet. He's supposed to go back to the States soon, and his guardians are the Griffs. So I mean that's a huge factor right there. I know they're not pressuring him per se, but I mean there's a little bit of pressure because they are very close with you. They are going to end up at Rutgers. You'll be able to see them a lot more, I'm sure. It sounds like it's Michigan and Rutgers, and that decision's going to come really soon. I don't know how soon, but I was told as soon as he gets back to the states, it's kind of like this is it. He went back home to go talk to his parents about where he wants to go. So I really think
Mm.
Rutgers has a really good shot there. And that's a huge get. That's 2 top 110. Well, I guess he's one. No, he might be higher. I think he's in the 90s
He's in
now.
the top. I think he's 95.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in the top
he's
100.
in the 90s. Griff's in the 30s. You still got to get a guard in this class. I don't know who you target, but I know Elijah Gertrude, the Hudson Catholic kid, is supposed to schedule a visit
Yep.
for the end of this month to Rutgers, which is huge because he's considered a Virginia lean. He went to Virginia for an official a month or two ago, went there this past weekend for an unofficial again, so it sounds like Virginia's still in the lead there. We'll visit Kansas next week, and then supposed to visit Rutgers on that same 29th, 30th weekend, whatever the hell it is, in the end of September. Now, it's huge to get that last visit, probably, but you got to make sure he gets
Yep.
to that last visit first, because it's going to be hard to turn down Kansas.
It definitely will be, assuming that they still have availability in their class
That's
by the time
yeah,
that happens, because I'm sure that he's not the only guard they're
no,
recruiting.
by no means.
Um,
But it's
but
good time to be a hoops fan. I mean, it's
yeah,
fun.
and you can't discount also that if a guy like Cliff leaves after this year, that's going to leave a big hole. But
Hmm.
the portal makes it so much easier to retool at this point.
Yeah,
Pike is going to be able to sell, especially if he gets drafted. Pike's going to be able to sell a high level transfer recruit. Hey, this guy, we developed him. He went from a pretty raw offensive game to an NBA late first round pick. Let's just throw a random thing out there.
I'd say that's accurate.
So he's going to be able to recruit, and that's why it was so hard to recruit a portal big man this past season. Like there was guys that showed a lot of interest in Rutgers, and we
Yeah,
almost landed the kid from Lehigh who ended up at
yeah,
Xavier, I believe.
yeah,
Um, but it's tough when you can't really realistically promise a starting job, or not even promise because Pike's not that kind of guy. But if a basketball players aren't stupid, they can look at a roster, they can look at minutes returning. They know that if there's a good opportunity or not to play a lot of minutes, and there realistically wasn't a lot of minutes to be had at center this year.
yeah.
So I get it, but there will be if Cliff leaves. So that's kind of the point I'm wrapping around to, is that Pike will be able to sell that and probably get a pretty high level guy, not necessarily of Cliff's talent, but similar talent, I think,
Or
if we aren't able to get one of the top
you
guys.
take your lumps and kind of rock with a freshman like a Papa Conte and just be like, hey, you're our starter. Like, let's see what you can do, kid. Or maybe who knows? Wolfolk. I really think Wolfolk's going to play a lot of minutes this year. He's a solid big
Yep.
man. Like he might develop into a really good player. I was a little shocked because I thought he would come in and be like, yeah, it's a football player. He needs some time. He's got to figure it out. But he looked decent, like on defense and rebounding and all that. Is his offensive game there? No, but that's the same thing with Cliff. Cliff didn't have any type of offensive game year one. So I mean,
Yep.
it'll be interesting to see how much he develops in year one and year one to year two, I guess.
For sure. Um, so I'm kind of out of topics to discuss. Is there anything you wanted to bring up before we sign off for today?
Not that I could really think of. Obviously, Rutgers Boardwalk this weekend. That's going to be a little interesting. I know KTR is having like a small event type thing. I don't know. I saw something on the boards where they're going to have McConnell and someone else there. I don't know what in terms of what they're having exactly. Are they having like a tent or something like that? Maybe. You get a
Mm-hmm.
free T-shirt if you sign up like right away. Sorry if you signed up already. Ethan Rawl will be there. Believe he's the lacrosse player, right? I'm not.
He
I'm
is.
sorry, I
Yep.
don't follow lacrosse as much as I probably should, but yeah, it should be a pretty good day overall. A 4 o'clock game for Wagner, a little bizarre, but hey, I'm not gonna complain. It's nice.
Yeah. No, I'm also a little bit surprised. That's almost always a 12 p.m. kick. But
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, the more games you can start after 3 p.m., the better, because it's really tough to tailgate,
yeah,
especially for people who come from the surrounding area to get there, because you got to get there by like 9 to really get a good tailgate experience in for a 12 o'clock game.
yeah. No, 100%. It's gonna be a good day though. I think you get to experience the boardwalk. There's gonna be all kinds of festivities. It's the back to the birthplace game, so I'm sure they're giving away some kind of T-shirts or something.
Yep.
I think there'll be a solid crowd. I don't know how big because it is Wagner and it's hard to sell Wagner on people, but I think 40K is about right. 40, maybe 42, around there.
Yeah. I think the Boston College game definitely probably juiced the fan base up a decent amount.
Yeah,
So I do think it'll definitely be above 40 if I had to
yeah,
guess, especially with the 4 o'clock kickoff. Such a nice day. It's not on a
hmm
holiday weekend, so yeah, I think that's a safe number.
yeah.
Um, Now, if we do start 3-0
That's where it's gonna
and
get
the
fun.
Iowa game is a 3:30 kickoff,
Oof.
what do you think the crowd will be like there, number
That
wise?
I think immediately. I posted on the board the other day. I think as long as it's not noon and it's 3:30 or later, I really think that there's no reason why that game shouldn't be like 50,000 at least.
Yeah, I think that game definitely will sound like a sellout,
Yeah.
and it'll look pretty close to a sellout
hmm
as well.
I don't know how much Iowa travels. Like, is their fan base actually travel decently? Maybe. I mean, it's not
Um,
Nebraska or Michigan, but it's like,
I honestly don't remember. I would just assume that those Midwest teams travel well until
yeah,
they prove me otherwise. And a Midwest team, I mean like a big state university, not like a
yeah,
Northwestern.
they're weird.
Like I don't think that counts. But
Yeah,
in Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, those kind of schools, I assume, because there's a lot of grads in like the NYC area for all these schools
yeah,
too. So it's like their one chance to see their team every few
true.
years. So
Yeah, I think it'd be a hell of an atmosphere, and I dread the fact that they might give them a noon game. And that's just
yep.
it's the RU screw there. I'm sorry, but the Big Ten got to do something there.
Yeah, yeah. You just gotta hope that they don't screw us. Nothing you can do.
Pretty much.
But
Yeah. So I mean, that's all we really
all
got,
right.
right?
Yeah, I think so. We appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We This will be, I think, our last pod of the week. We're gonna try and do more Twitter Spaces because I thought that worked pretty well. That'll be turned into a pod afterwards as well. But just keep an eye on the boards, keep an eye on your podcast feed, because who knows, maybe we'll get a big commitment and then we'll pop in and talk about
And
it.
then we'll get the
But
Temple guys on next week, and we can probably pull that one off. I think. I don't know a Wagner beat writer, so that's not happening.
yeah, and plus there's not really a whole lot to talk
Yeah.
about. It's like, we lost 21 games straight. We're an FCS program. If we don't lose by 40, it'll be a big win. Like
That's
all right.
accurate.
But all right, guys, thanks for tuning in again. This has been another episode of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.